Okay, here we go.
Live.
All right. Well, here I am, John Marsales, my buddy Brian Shade, and we're here to break down one of his 12-team snake drafts from last year. The goal is, try and find any mistakes, any golden nuggets, anything that we can learn from, looking at last year to try and predict the future. And Brian, I guess you want to take it away here. How'd you do last year?
This team did not do that great. Probably two biggest reasons were Leonard Fournette in the second, and my QB I staked the draft to was Kyler Murray, who was just kind of up and down and hurt. But my team was the Hungry Hippos. This is a family league that's been going on since like 2004. So we all have pretty good experience, but not too many experts in the league. So I think this is a pretty good way to look at what is going to be similar to a bunch of your home leagues and how the drafts probably panned out last year. And we'll just see what we can learn from it.
Yeah. I was just, perusing it. The biggest takeaway I took right away was like how many kind of bad picks there were in the early rounds. Not like process, just result.
Yeah. And I think I've in the past tended to just lean running back heavy. That's changing now with the wide receiver landscape. But like, again, Leonard Fournette, not the best. Right above him, DeAndre Swift at pick 8, and then right below him, Tyreek Hill. So we all know who won that pick of the 3. But last year, obviously, Tyreek with the Dolphins, new wide receiver, new team, bunch of talent, but nobody knew.
Yeah, until about week 1, and then But even Swift, Swift was kind of great, and then he wasn't, right? He's kind of the ultimate boomer bust.
Yeah, and I'd say with Swift, and maybe one thing to look at this year is the Hard Knocks boost. I think is a thing in fantasy where you just Lions were Hard Knocks last year, I believe, and just all the news about them. It's the more people are in the news, the higher I feel like they go up, whether it's good or bad.
The artificial Hard Knock bump.
Yep.
Okay, well, let's just start with the round 1. So you go Eckler third,
fourth, yeah.
Fourth.
I mean, right? I think that's pretty. Yep, Austin Eckler was 4th. I think that'll honestly be pretty similar to this year. I would say, yep, sorry if we can get a better look at it. But I would just say like Jonathan Taylor, Cooper Kupp, those were the two kind of breakouts from, I guess this is 2022, so 2021 season. Taylor obviously didn't work out.
Yeah, but that's just result, right? Everyone was, the guy getting Taylor at 2 was stoked.
Yeah, exactly. But Cooper Kupp honestly looked like a great pick. He was averaging more points per game before he got hurt than Justin Jefferson, and Justin Jefferson now is seen as the 1-1.
Yeah, obviously, but going stud wide receivers, like it's as much as like a marriage, right? You need the QB.
Yeah.
Right. I watched a lot of Rams, and Stafford was banged up. Kupp was getting just checkdowns all day, right? He wasn't getting really any of the deep routes that he was getting the year before.
Yeah, and I mean it'll be interesting to see this year. Stafford supposedly healthy, but that offensive line is quite poor. You got a lot of new players, and honestly, the Rams roster as a whole, you have a bunch of star power in the Staffords, the Donalds, the Kupps, even Akers is a pretty recognized name. But after that, it's hard to name 5 more players on that team.
Yeah, well, because they're all rookies. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you're big anti-Rams. I've kind of come around on them a bit as being kind of like the Lions from last year, like offensively competent and then defensively like a sieve. And so that, a lot of 34, 31 games.
Yeah, and I think Cooper is growing on me as we get closer to drafts, just because, like, again, I didn't realize until digging in how much better Cooper Kupp was last year compared to all the other wide receivers. Again, he just got hurt, and I think the numbers would have looked similar if he didn't get hurt, plus Stafford getting hurt. And obviously, it's a big if, and injuries happen all the time, but
yeah, but Stafford was coming into the year with the elbow issue, and now he's got a neck issue. Like, My biggest issue with not taking Cup this season was just because of the trust in Stafford being able to stay healthy. But let me just quickly pump this. Make sure to buy the NFL Fantasy Pass, the All Sport Pass, because it's going up to $10. I think at the end of the month, right? So the NFL Fantasy Pass is $4, gets you just football, and then $10 gets you every sport and just an endless amount of content.
For sure, I've learned about SportsEthos through basketball. We got a bunch of good football content coming out. It's a pretty darn good deal for what it's at now, especially get in while football draft season is started and just keep it going through basketball season.
Okay, so let's move out of the first round, because the first round's always kind of you can't really lose it, right? Just looking quickly, like Joe Mixon at 7, that kind of has a little stink on it, but otherwise it's pretty good. But then so you took Fournette. So you took him what, 19th?
Yeah, 9th in the second round. But my mindset there was he had so many dump offs the year prior.
Yeah, he turned himself
Let me just hope that's what keeps happening. It wasn't. And I definitely got hurt based on that. But I mean, it's just the running back with a bunch of volume. Who is that this year? Could be similar to Najee this year, but I mean, it hurt me for sure. I should have gone wide receiver.
But then to go devil's advocate, also you got Tampa, terrible O-line, and then they also, I think, led the league in pass rate, right? So it's like you're drafting a running back there with a much more narrower margin for success.
100%.
I was just looking at his stats. I think he still had 1,000 rushing receiving yards, but I mean, White was also breathing down his neck.
Yeah. I think third round, similar to what I say. I mean, I got Mark Andrews. I think he'll be going probably end of second, beginning of third this year as well. I like the price compared to Kelsey. You can wait. You can still get someone who could be tight end 1. He probably won't just due to Kelsey's dominance, but things happen. You never know. And he is, if you draft Andrews, you don't have to worry about it the rest of the year other than bye week. And, of course, injuries. But it's hard to draft based off injuries.
Yeah, it's impossible. Yeah, you just end up not drafting anyway. No, I'm the biggest tight end proponent out there. But Andrew, it just seems like he's just ranked at his ceiling. I just don't see him outperforming that. Just like for draft capital. I don't know. I love Kelsey, but I think I'd rather wait and go Hawk. I mean, I'm all in on Pitts again, but I don't know. And they got the new air raid offense, but like even last year, you got Andrews there. What do you think? He definitely underperformed that spot, right?
Yeah, I think comparatively, you still had your massive upgrade at tight end against anyone other than Kelsey, but yeah, I mean, you miss out on, I don't know, T. Higgins went in this round. You would have been happy with Josh Allen, obviously. But, I mean, even Josh Jacobs went a little bit prior. Third round, I feel like, especially this year, it's going to be interesting. You're going to have probably – you're going to have a bunch of bust and maybe some top players in it. It's kind of a gauntlet. Like, you got to find the right ones to choose.
Well, because it's funny, because at the beginning, when you look at what the guys in the third round, you're just like stud, 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 stud. And now we look back, right? We got, Jacobs outperformed. Javonte got hurt. Andrews underperformed. Moore probably a little under. Keenan Allen was hurt. Pitts got hurt. Zeke was washed. Pittman didn't have a QB. Higgins was like hit or miss. And Mike Williams is always kind of a bust, boom. So it's like, you look at that round after the fact, and man, it's kind of ugly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, you would. Javonte's, I feel like people take their shots here. Like last year, Javonte was a big hype name. Took your shot, didn't work. Kyle Pitts, hype name, took your shot, didn't work.
Yeah.
Michael Pittman, they finally have a QB. Maybe not. Didn't work out. It is.
We got a question here from Kalen White. Who's your most underrated tight end right now?
I would say I know people love Dulcich just due to the injuries now.
Okay.
I like it. I think Goddard, I I see Dallas Goddard. Yes, I'm an Eagles fan, but I see him being tight end 3. His points per game last year were I don't have he was top 5 points per game last year and he got hurt. He is the third target on his team, yes, but I think some of the research I've done, especially on RPO teams, when you have a run pass option, it's pretty like your targets are pretty set before the play. So if you have Goddard, Brown, Smith, you're going to either target them or you're going to run it. And the Eagles were one of the top teams in RPOs. So I see it being a pretty 3-target heavy offense again. And it's
Yeah,
a pretty high.
but it's a tier. It's a 2-tier target, and then Goddard has his own as the third.
Yeah, but he could get a bunch of like he is a big target in the touchdowns and third target on that offense. I don't think is that poor, and I think ADP is probably tight end 5 or 6. I see him as tight end 3.
Okay, yeah,
I think there's value.
I like Goddard for sure. Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, he's done it before. You're going to be on a good team. I mean, I worry that the Eagles might be too good and they're not going to pass in the fourth quarter again, and that's this is really going to hamper any your all around production.
I hear that. I just think their strength of schedule compared to last year is way higher. So you're gonna have closer games. You're supposed to be having closer games, and I think that will help them with their passing volume. They're still going to be run heavy. They're still going to run the ball a lot, but Goddard's never coming off the field because he's a great blocker too. So, okay, you run the ball a lot, play action, boom, he's there.
Okay, what other tight ends we like? People are big on Freiermuth, which I'm not huge on, but I read it. He had like 800 passing receiving yards last year. That's pretty sneaky.
That whole him and Deontay Johnson, I think, are a little undervalued just because Pickett didn't throw touchdowns.
Yeah,
like I don't know the exact stats, but like he set records for how few touchdowns he threw with volume and just
Johnson had the record, right, for the most yards or most receptions with that touchdown.
Yeah, and if he gets the same yards and you add 2 or 3 touchdowns, he moves up a bunch in the rankings from prior year. Freiermuth does. So I see it. It's just, and even with that division, it's going to be a close division. They're known for kind of having your bully ball, but with Ravens, high octane offense, Bengals, high octane offense, and Browns, who knows what Watson does, but they're going to have some shootouts, and there's opportunity in that Steelers wide receiver core tight ends to produce more.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on to round 4, which right pivots right back into the Steelers, right? You took Deontay Johnson, who was just bad luck, right? Like we said, I think he set the record for least amount of touchdowns.
Yeah, and I think kind of the mindset here was I didn't have a wide receiver yet. I went 2 running backs and a tight end. So with my wide receiver, I needed volume. I needed target volume. He had target volume. There were people who performed better below. Like, I guess Jalen Waddle, but that was a round later, and I don't really regret my pick there. He had target volume. He didn't score. If he scores this year, he's going to be a top 20 receiver.
Yeah, potentially, but yeah, he could then went against one of my cardinal rules, right? Don't draft a good, wide receiver with a terrible QB. Right?
Yeah, rookie QBs. I think that also applies to rookie QBs. Like, you're right there, where rookie QBs on average don't do, like, their wide receivers and tight ends just don't perform as well.
I'm glad you brought up Waddle. That's the one that stood out. That was the number one guy that stood out with me in this entire draft. Because I think, didn't he break the rookie reception record, right? And then Hill comes in. Everyone, I guess, gets a little worried. And he falls to the second, middle of the 5th round here. I mean, he might be the guy who outperformed his ADP by one of the bigger margins. And it wasn't a shock.
I I think back in that time, it was a shock. Like I don't know. I remember going into drafts thinking I want to stay away from that offense because what's Tua going to do? Tua didn't really prove it yet. He showed flashes, but I think Mike McDaniel really helped that offense. He used Waddle and Hill perfectly. They both helped each other get open with that speed. It ended up being a great value, but I think at the time there was a lot of question marks around Waddle. Maybe not his talent, but just how many wide receivers can Tua, who hasn't proven it yet, how many can he handle from a fantasy standpoint? Like, there's not many times you have two receivers on a team. Now, this year, you see it a lot, but they're proven QBs that have it. At that time, Tua wasn't proven.
No, for sure. But that's one of the biggest learning points. If you can take a bit of a leap on a wide receiver with an unproven QB, and that QB makes the leap, I mean, your team's just going to go through the moon, right? Like, my favorite is DK Metcalf, right?
Yep. You had DK, and even around later, you got Devontae Smith. Like, everyone knew Hurts was going to be a fantasy value at the time just due to his rushing, but all right, they just added Brown, like almost exact similar situation. Waddle performed more in his rookie year than Devontae Smith, but they're ranked pretty similar going into 2023, and
they're both explosive.
Yep, just stud second options.
All right, I think Keith wants me to push. You got on Tune Back Friday. Shane and Keith break down all the exciting rookies in fantasy, and I think that's a good way to kind of pivot back to our pod too, because the rookies are one of the things that stands out. Nobody drafts rookies early, and they just seem like the best possible lottery ticket you can get.
Right? Yeah, and I think we've started to catch on to the rookie running back situation. I mean, you hear about it in the news. No one wants to pay running back, so get a rookie. You'll see Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that one the year he was drafted, was a second-round pick. This year we got rookies like, why can't I think of the guy from the Falcons? Bijan. First-round pick. Like, rookie running backs, I feel like people are catching on. I don't know about rookie wide receivers.
I'm all in. I mean, I don't. We can try and quickly rank them, but I probably go. I like Jordan Addison, and then Smith. How do you pronounce his name? Smith Najigba. Does anyone know?
Yeah,
I got him too, and then probably Flowers, and maybe then Quentin Johnson.
Yeah, I definitely like Addison the most. Just redraft. Like, he's just going to plug into an offense where they just target the wide receivers. I'm assuming he can beat out Osborne.
Yeah.
That's something to keep an eye on. If news comes out he doesn't, Osborne's a great value later. But most likely with these rookie wide receivers, you're going to draft them. You're going to be disappointed for the first 5 or so weeks, and then it just clicks. And
do not drop them.
Yeah.
Put a lock on it. Make sure you can't. I don't care what he does. What happens? You can't do it.
Yeah, and we're still looking at top 6 rounds. I think in this draft, I ended up getting Garrett Wilson with my last position player pick. I mean, that was just such a shot in the dark. It was on the Jets. The Jets quarterback situation was a mess. I got lucky with that, but my mindset at the end of the draft was, do I get someone who's going to get me maybe 8 points, or do I just take a lottery ticket? And a lot of those times, I mean, the lottery tickets don't hit all the time, but you can kind of see in your first 2 weeks, is this person worthy of rostering or not? If you see a bit of promise, you keep them on the team, or you just drop it for the next waiver wire, hot shot. And there's always going to be a few hot shots. So taking a risk at the end of your draft, I think, is smart, just due to you're going to drop somebody for waivers. It might as well take the risk, and okay, it doesn't work out. You pick someone else up, take another risk.
But you don't drop Garrett Wilson.
You don't. I I
Move on to another lottery ticket. So you took Brees Hall in the 5th. What's your thought process there? Because that seems like almost like almost like a mini lottery ticket.
it was great, and then he got hurt.
Yeah, no, I know, no, I know. But just so you
Yeah, I
took
mean,
it was all running backs: Dylan, Edmonds, Pierce, Brees.
yeah, I mean, the Pierce pick was smart.
Yeah,
I just think it was like I mean, even with that, Jets offense was not very proven, but all right, a bunch of running backs went. I probably needed another receiver. That's probably my biggest regret from this draft in general was just I didn't get enough receivers, but I tend to like the safety of running backs early on, and then you can find value later in wide receivers.
I'm gonna get to this question, but just first, what going back? Would you take Mahomes over Brees?
I mean,
Like
yeah,
I know, huh?
they,
No.
yeah. I just think. I mean, looking back, yes, 100%. I think the quarterbacks this past year, have just Mahomes, Hurts, and Allen were so far ahead of every other quarterback. Like the average of those three scores was 24.8. The average of the ranks 4 to 10 was 18.4. So that's a 6 point difference. That's why they were so valuable. I looked at that difference from like top three to that kind of second tier of starters. I looked into that, and it's on average about a 3.4 to 5 difference. So the drop off between them was just so much higher. So the value there, like if you had one of those three on your team, you were in the playoffs unless you just had absolute crap on the rest of your team.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you're getting all these 30-point weeks. Yeah, no, you're just carrying you. I don't want to step on this Friday pod, but we got another question. How do you mitigate risk with choosing a rookie? Feel like they're so hit or miss. It seems pretty risky to make a fantasy strategy around rookies. Well, yes, that is definitely true. But it's all about upside, right? You're taking these rookie wide receivers, like wide receiver 25 to 30, almost minimum, if not 35 to 40, and they if you go to the back half of the year, they're probably going to be throwing up wide receiver 15 numbers.
Yeah.
So
And I just think it's understanding like you don't want to go all rookies. You have
no,
like
you don't want to do that.
you have I call them like your hype beast players who like they just want every young player who they think's gonna pop. And yeah, they hit on three of them, but if they miss on five, like you break even. I just think having a pretty even, like, okay, Deontay Johnson at the time, I think fit well with rookies because he was a safe target. And I just think if you can say you draft high upside, follow it up with someone who's safer, who you know the points are going to be there, even if they're not going to be a stud. You got to start someone at flex. Like you can't just hope that one of these guys ends up hitting because sometimes they don't. Sometimes you draft a Clyde Edwards-Helaire and you just wait all year for it to happen, and it never does.
Yeah, and it's all about draft capital too, right? When you're taking rookies, mostly you're taking them around pick 100, right? So
Yeah,
taking Zay Flowers with your 98th pick is all upside.
exactly.
So I like, and it's so hard to predict one. I think my strategy is I'm going to try and take two, like take two rookie wide receivers, maybe, 9th, 10th pick or something like that. Hope one pops. And, if I got to drop one, hopefully I don't pick the wrong one.
Yeah, and I think even like with quarterback this year or like Dalton Kincaid in the tight end position, he's a pretty popular name. If you're going to draft Kincaid or maybe it's Richardson, follow it up with a safer pick. If you get Kincaid, draft like a Higbee or someone who is at least going to get targets. He's not pretty, but someone's got to score at your tight end position. And if Kincaid doesn't really play, you want to have someone there. And with Anthony Richardson, draft him, but then get someone like a Geno Smith or Daniel Jones later on in the draft, just so that you kind of mitigate your risk with the floor picks. So then say they don't hit, you have someone else that's going to fill in. Just always have a backup plan for those rookies.
Yeah, for sure. You draft them expecting them not to be great, but we got to move
Exactly.
along here because we're already 25 minutes in. We're only around 6. So I think so. Round 6, you took Cooks. I mean, that's just pretty standard. He's the most reliable wide receiver maybe in fantasy history.
Yeah, and that's again kind of what I do with my receivers was I tried to just make them safe. Like I didn't draft many early on. I should have done a little bit more, but the ones I did, I wanted them to have a target share. Cooks ended up having that issue around the trade deadline where he wanted to get traded. He didn't. So that ended up kind of burning me, but I don't hate the mindset that I had.
And then let me hype the fantasy pass one more time. We got where is it? Yeah, make sure to buy the NFL Fantasy Pass. It's $4 a month right now, or the All Sport Pass, which is going up to 10 very soon. It includes all major sports and just unbelievably unlimited gambling information. What do we got?
That's
Arnett.
$7 now, right?
What?
It's $7 now, the All Sport.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Here we go. 7 a month.
Adam 7 a month is pretty good.
Arnett likes Adam Thielen. He is a guy I do not like, but to each their own.
I mean, I get it as a back end. If you're gonna Adam Thielen in the 9th, no, but Adam Thielen sometimes isn't even getting drafted.
Oh yeah, that's ridiculous.
As as one of your last few position players, get a rookie, get Adam Thielen.
Yeah, that's the combo. Yeah, start Thielen for 4 weeks. His body breaks down, or maybe he has a rejuvenation machine. But yeah, that's the move. Old guy with young guy.
Exactly. And,
all right, now let's move on to probably your least favorite pick of the draft.
Yeah, I mean Kyler. Again, I love me a running quarterback. It's just they normally have a lower floor. I mean, a higher floor.
Higher floor.
I think. I mean, Jalen Hurts was kind of he's like your go-to now. Him and Jackson. Jalen Hurts didn't have as many massive week one QB1 performances, but he was in the top 5 so much, and that just having that consistency is useful when you have the running floor for the production. It's just useful. Obviously, Kyler had his own issues.
I had Kyler last year too. He was an abomination. He wouldn't throw past the sticks. He wouldn't throw line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
He couldn't get drives going. They'd be down. I'd be like, "Oh, garbage time." No, nothing. When he got hurt, I mean, knock on wood, or don't be it, but it was a blessing for my team.
Yeah.
Because you can't not start.
I held on too long there.
Yeah. Well, because then Hop was coming back. So yeah. So Kyle, so you took Kyler. I mean, I would take Kyler over Dak in a heartbeat, right? Like, if you look at those guys, you got one of the best picks on paper. I mean, it was almost crazy that Kyler fell that far.
Yeah, I mean, that's fantasy. It just doesn't always work out. It just is what it is. You can't win it all. You can't get every pick right, but it's just kind of trust your process and kind of dig deep into it. Don't just because it doesn't work this time, I'm still probably going to go after a rushing quarterback in the middle rounds. I don't want to spend up in the 2nd or 3rd round. I'm going to do it again. Maybe I succeed, maybe I don't, but I like my process.
Yeah, and then this is another big one too. Next round, Chris Godwin. I mean, that's kind of the ultimate, risk move, right? You take a guy, he's going to be injured early, and you just have no idea when's he really going to be, at full speed. How long do you got to carry him? Do you got to start him when he's kind of still hurt and you're getting those 3-catch, 20-yard games?
Yeah, and I think if you look at the next round, I went Thielen. So I went your risky injured player, and then your safer has a floor targets player.
Yeah, and I mean Godwin ended up being one of the best picks of your draft.
Yeah, I like Godwin this year too, just because Baker. I see Godwin getting more. I mean, Mike Evans. It's been said so many times. He always gets 1,000 yards, but I just see Baker targeting shorter more. Evans is great. He'll have a few games where he wins you a week. But Godwin, I think, is a good, safe pick for volume and just especially PPR full point. You're going to get value there.
We'll see. I am on the exact opposite coin.
Because you don't like QBs. Yep.
I wouldn't take Godwin in. I mean, it'd be embarrassing who he'd be next. And he'd be like, well, I think I'll take the other guy.
Yeah.
But time will tell. I don't. Yeah. Okay. Next round. What do we got here? Oh, we got Thielen. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's self-explanatory. But Thielen's like, it's just he's right on that cusp of that old player that he just breaks down as the year goes on, and he's not a guy who's going to be on your team at the end of the year.
Agreed.
But it's also how many guys are going to be on your team from week 1 to week 17, anyways.
Not as many as you think.
Yeah, not nearly as many as you think. Okay, so now, all right, now we get into the nitty gritty. These are my favorite rounds, right? This is. Oh, well, they got my guy. Oh, so you took James Cook before Olave. Oh,
yeah, that wasn't the smartest, but I mean, yeah, you hope it works out. Like with that, it was Buffalo offense. Oh, who's the running back? Like,
yeah, Singletary, whatever.
Yeah, it was an upside pick. I should have gotten Olave. I went upside again with Tony later on. Like
that Cook over Olave, I feel like that's one of those lessons. If you had done the same draft this year, you take without the information, you're going to take the rookie wide receiver first, right?
Oh, 100%. Like,
right?
That's one of the things you definitely want to learn from of just running backs. I feel like the rookies, you kind of know what you're getting now. People know there's going to be volume, and just the running back position in general is thinning out. I think the drop off after running back 2 is giant. I think I had somewhere here the running back 2s. Sorry, let me just pull it up. Running back 2s over the past running back 2, I say 13 to 24 ranking. PPR averaged 13.5 points. Wide receiver 2s averaged 14.5, and then wide receiver 3s averaged 12, almost 12.5. So just the wide receiver position is so much more deep. So again, I just think get your running backs. My mindset was always get 1 or 2 early, then just wait a while. If somebody drops, sure, take an upside pick. But everyone loves a 0 RB strategy now.
Until you got no running backs.
Yeah, you got to hit on some of it. You got to hit on, you just have to hit on somebody, and it's risky starting in round 7 through the end of the draft. If you can get one person you trust, I think it's useful.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just did 12 builds from every spot. And every time I took a running back with my first 2 rounds, I loved my team exponentially more. But I'm the biggest proponent of taking the backup running back. Like last year, where's Ramondre? I remember I saw him. He went late.
He was up. I think he was around 9.
Was he? Okay. Right. It's so for this year, you got Tanks Bigsby. Jamie's convinced me on Charbonnet. I'm a huge Charbonnet guy now. If you can just litter your bench with these backup running backs, the position's so volatile. I mean, there's a really good chance they're going to end up hitting for you, sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think I noticed one of the teams did that. It was Oranges. He went with Walker. He ended up getting Gainwell, and I think he went with a few other. He went wide receiver heavy. He was pretty much a 0 RB, and all he did was just fill up the roster with younger backs in more unknown situations. At the time, Kenneth Walker, Rashad Penny was still on the team, so Kenneth Walker in the 10th round, great value. I think Kenny Gainwell, all right, I don't like that as much, but he's young. He was going into a second-year player. Maybe he'll pop. Maybe he didn't. He didn't pop, but I just think taking that risk and that mindset helps, and it's worth it.
Okay, and then all right, now I'm on round 13. I don't know if I skipped one here. We got you, Khalil Herbert. I mean, that seems like an awesome pick.
Yeah, that was maybe I get lucky. Like, again, sorry. I mean, I'm just looking at oranges again. He went with Isaiah Pacheco.
Oh
Like,
my God.
he went like I saw him doing that, so I started trying to snipe him. Like, he's
Yeah.
one of the guys.
Did he win the league?
He was up there because he went wide receiver heavy. He was definitely up there. I think Skinham was also up there. I just like I think having like don't go in with a certain strategy, but once you see how the draft falls, start like he saw how the draft fell and he noticed I'm not getting a top running back. So at the end of the draft, I'm just gonna keep taking shots on these young guys and see who hits. He already had Kenneth Walker, Isaiah Pacheco. There's 2 starters.
Yeah, that's a great foundation. So QB strategy is something you've really been focusing on too, right? So what's your elevator QB pitch?
I don't think it's worth it going up high. I just think the last time that a group of quarterbacks had such a point differential was 2013. That was 10 years ago, and we had Drew Brees and Peyton Manning just went off. They were both 6 to 7 points above above the rest of the starters.
Is that the Broncos? Yeah, the Broncos Denver first
Yeah.
year.
So that was the year, and then the next year, none of them were top 3, but they were both ranked 1 and 2. And yeah, I think you can predict that, like Mahomes, Allen, Hurts, they're gonna they have the best probability of ending up in the top 3. But I think the rest of the quarterback class last year just didn't really add up, and they didn't measure up to the rest of the group. But you got Justin Fields now, who came on at the middle of the year. You expect him to be up there. Joe Burrow with all of his weapons. Yeah, you expect him to be up there. Anthony Richardson has the potential with just the rushing. You expect him up there. Lamar Jackson again, maybe it's passing volume adds. I just think that
Herbert, can't forget Herbert, right?
Herbert, Lawrence, like you have so many other options that could make it in the top 3 that why not just take the shot, like draft one of them and then get your running back 2 or your running back 1 or your wide receiver 2. Like the position you're going to give up in the 2nd and 3rd round is a top 12 running back, or you're going to give up a top 24 wide receiver. Most likely.
Yeah.
Or
I agree with that, but there's a floor. Like Trevor Lawrence is like the worst starting QB I want, right? I don't want to be messing around. I know Keith Lewis and his Jared Goff and your Kirk Cousins, like Stafford, like these plug and play guys where, they go on the road and, they give you like 6 points and you're done. Like, yeah, I agree. No, I mean, top 3 a little overvalued, but then that middle tier, it's too juicy. I think they aren't as maybe dynamic other than Lamar and Fields, but I think Herbert especially might 5,000 yards easy, right? New OC, he's got 4 wide receivers, good O line.
Exactly. I love Hurts. He won me my championship in my auction league last year. I like having him. One guy in that auction league just goes all Bills. Like, and he's always good. Like I think he had Diggs.
Obviously, Allen.
Diggs, Davis, Allen, Bills defense, Bills kicker. He had the tight end Knox,
yeah,
and he had one of the running backs. He was a top 3 team. He made it to.
Oh, really?
Finals.
Wow.
It's a 12. Just because, like, if Bills go off, your team's going off.
Yeah, no, for sure. I was just thinking. I know Allen with his elbow injury, he really kind of struggled, and then you get bad weather at the end of the year too. But
like that team was good, and just
for sure. Yeah,
if
it's a simple strategy that's pretty effective.
He's a big Bills fan, and he stacked it to the point where he won. Like but like I just don't think. I think you can get better value elsewhere now, and if you want to do your stacks, do a stack of Herbert and Keenan Allen or Williams.
That's the one team I wouldn't stack because I don't know who's gonna. They got 4 guys that could all pop.
Yeah,
right?
I mean that might have been a bad example, but Trevor Lawrence, get Kirk or Ridley.
Yeah,
there's so many other. I wouldn't stack with Fields because I don't know about his passing, but
Oh, I'm all in. The Fields more stack is my number one stack. I'm because I think he's going to be a single progression guy, right? He's going to go
yeah.
like look for more tuck.
I mean, we've seen it in the past. We saw Lamar get a bunch better in the passing game. We saw Hurts get better. We saw Allen get better.
Yeah, overnight too, right? They
Yeah,
can't win. They can't pass, and then now they're leading the league in touchdowns.
Exactly. There is a pattern. I don't trust that passing, but I don't blame anyone for leaning into it. And sorry to Keith, who I know is a Bears fan.
I'm all in, Keith. All right, we're gonna we'll go 5 more minutes here. So let's try and hit. So lessons that we liked, we learned. Well, let's do one more promo here, right? All right. So we got the draft guide, $4 a month for NFL. Or you can lock it. Wait, price is going up to 10 months when we drop the NFL and NBA guide content. So lock it in now for 7 before it goes to 10. That's the one.
Yep.
I'll get better at that. So lessons we learned from this draft.
I mean, for me, take your shots later, even if the rookie wide receiver looks to be in like quarterback purgatory, aka Garrett Wilson. You never know what'll happen, and like take your shots later. And then I think one of the things I also noticed, just because Cooper Kupp went first overall, was just, is Justin Jefferson that much better than every other wide receiver to be worthy of 1-1?
Yes.
Many people think so. I don't, just because like I think he's super safe and I think you're going to get a first round value. I just don't see him as 1-1.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair, right? I mean, AJ Brown might actually be better than him.
Who knows? Jamar Chase, Cooper, Kupp.
Yeah.
Like there's a bunch of, not many people repeat as wide receiver 1, but I think you can trust like that you're going to get a top receiver in him other than injury, obviously.
Well, he's played every game of his career, and I know his playoff schedule. He gets the Lions late in the season. I think Jefferson, yeah. You're not getting like the penthouse ceiling where like McCaffrey might get you like a rush and receiving touchdown every game. Mm-hmm. But, Jefferson, you're probably getting, you're getting 100 yards every game, 6-7 catches. He's getting the targets, pass heavy offense. I'm all about safety. So,
yeah. No, safety in the beginning rounds, risk at the end is a very smart way to go.
All right, one last nugget. What do we got?
I mean, I think I don't know if we touched on this a bunch, but like injured players going into the year, how do you feel about taking that risk? Where are you willing to? Where are you not willing to?
I think it depends kind of on what the structure of your league is. Because I was in a 10 team last year, and you end up with so much talent on your roster, you end up benching really good players anyway. So you may as well have an injured player, right? Oh, is this a Jameson Williams bit?
I can go on that bit.
I think he's going to be awesome. I think he's got the pedigree. He's got the talent. If he hadn't torn his ACL, right? He what was he, a second round pick?
He was 11th overall, right?
11th overall, yeah.
My big thing against Jameson is he's suspended 8 games or 6 games.
Well, because of the bye week, yeah.
Yeah, so then, so he's back by week 8. And then once he's back, how many weeks is it going to take you to trust him to actually start him? You're going to have to see something in one of the first 2 weeks to actually start him.
I'll start him week 1, but
you'll not. That's very ballsy of you. But
well, like, 12-14 team league, right? Like if it's
I just think like it's going to take you till week 10 to even be able to be confident starting him, and you don't get to use an IR slot on him if your league has that. So you're waiting 10 weeks to maybe see if you have somebody. And I just feel like a roster spot is better spent anywhere else.
I mean, time will tell, and we will see who, Yeah. But my dream is to play you in the playoffs, and I got Jameson going, and he goes, 2 touchdowns, 150, and I'm the happiest person that ever lived. That he will be suspended. Oh, Kamara. I think we have Kamara around like 94, 95 right now. I think he's on the running back cliff. He's slowed down. He's not the same. I'm not a Kamara guy.
I mean, it all depends like where you want to take him. I'd say 7th round, I'd be down.
That's so
Like-
early. He's probably getting 4 games. You know, that's usually about the average, right?
2 to 4, yeah, would be the guess. I mean, if he hits, how pumped are you going to be if he hits in the 7th round?
Sure. I just said running. What is he? 27. He's on that running back cliff. I'd much rather just take Jamal Williams. Right. Derek Carr's terrible throwing touchdowns in the red zone. They're going to hand it off. They got the O line. You know, I'm not that worried about Taysom Hill. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like old running backs, especially looking at your draft. You just see all these guys, they've been in the league a while, and they just fall off a cliff.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, and it's hard to predict with the running backs.
But so, yeah, I'm taking Jamal Williams before Kamara every day of the week. But, okay, I think we're at the 45-minute mark. I guess we'll wrap it up here. Thanks a lot, Brian. Thanks, Keith, for helping out.
Thank you.
One last plug. Try and grab the fantasy pass before the price goes up. We did about as much work as anyone could have, just writing articles, write-ups, rankings, everything. We're pretty dialed in. And until next time.